Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to remember a number. The number is 499. Okay? 400, let's just say an even 500. 500 warrants obtained during the investigation into President Trump, and it might be over 500 because we're not counting the warrants obtained against Carter Page and George Papadopoulos and General Michael Flynn. So over 500 warrants obtained. We found this out today. This is in the Washington Examiner. New documents reveal timeline of search warrants in the Mueller probe. 500 plus search warrants. Because if you add, that's just for the special counsel's probe. If you add the search warrants that Peter Strzok and Comey and Clapper, and McCabe obtained through the FISA applications to surveil Carter Page, you're talking about, that's 4 alone from the FISA applications for Carter Page. And then you had other warrants obtained, so well over 500. Over 500 warrants to search, to surveil, and they found bupkis. Nothing. Nada. Zero. Zilch. Nothing. Why were they given the authority? Because if you look, the 500 warrants, you would think that the actual allegations that everyone from Bill Maher to people at MSNBC, The Washington Post, New York Times, everyone, late night, everyone believes, everyone on the left, every liberal on the planet believes that Russia hacked the DNC with the help of Trump. Or they believed that. Why was this obtained? Why were these warrants obtained? Well, first we'll get to what did these attempts at search and seizure and surveillance, what did they obtain in terms of evidence of a crime? Well, that's page 17 of the Mueller report. Second, while the investigation identified numerous links between individuals with ties to the Russian government and individuals associated with the Trump campaign, by the way, not illegal, the evidence was not sufficient to support criminal charges. Okay. Among other things, the evidence was not sufficient to charge any campaign official as an unregistered agent of the Russian government or other Russian principal. Well, there's 500 warrants. What do you mean? And our evidence about the June 9, 2016 meeting and the DNC emails was, quote, not sufficient to charge a criminal campaign finance violation. So President Trump, benefiting from the corruption exposed by the DNC emails that caused Debbie Wasserman Schultz to resign, not a campaign finance violation. Further, the evidence was not sufficient to charge that any member of the Trump campaign conspired with representatives of the Russian government to interfere in the 2016 election. Any member of the Trump campaign, 500 search warrants. 500, ladies and gentlemen. Over 500. You had maybe several warrants obtained for the Clinton email probe where Brian Pagliano or Clinton Clinton did through Pagliano Cooper transfer top secret and special access program intelligence and on servers outside of the United States government. I mean, if Trump had a server outside the United States government, they would accuse him of actually selling secrets, but we could never do that with the Golden Mumu, Madam Cyberhack. But you have Roger Stone, who found out during his court battle with the U.S. government that, let's just read it here. Let's just read this right here. Okay, so I'm looking at the indictments. Okay, so DNC lawyers provided CrowdStrike reports to the government. He said the redacted parts weren't relevant to the investigation. They did not get the United States government. So this is according to Stone's lawyers. The government makes two arguments. Number one, this is from the court. This is from the in the United States District Court in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. Defendant. Okay, so this is his reply to motion to compel unredacted versions of the CrowdStrike reports. So they're going back and forth, and this is a reply from his attorneys, Stone's attorneys, to the U.S. government. They asked for the redacted report. They didn't get him. Why not? I thought that the United States government got just the fact that they got information from CrowdStrike. The DNC, this is Wired, spoke about this. The DNC, the Hill, never allowed the FBI or anyone in the U.S. government to look at their servers. The rebuttal was, well, we gave them, the CrowdStrike gave pristine copies of DNC servers. They didn't even get all the information from the analysis. How do we know? Because Stone's lawyers say the government makes two arguments. One, the government does not consider the reports Brady material, and two, it does not possess unredacted reports. The government did permit the defense team to review but not have a copy of two other CrowdStrike reports after the court hearing on May 30th, 2019. While the government may not believe the reports are exculpatory, at the very least they provide help to the defense, and we request the court under the government to provide a copy. The 2016 reports were created for the DNC, not for the government. The DNC conducted its own investigation and gave certain reports to the government. On June 14, 2016, the DNC, via CrowdStrike, publicly announced that it had been hacked by the Russian government. The rebuttal from, and so why did over 500 warrants? Why were they allowed? Why did judges allow five? I mean, you had a special counsel, fine, but then over the 500, you had they deceived FISA judges. But how are these warrants, all 500 of them? What's the basis for this? Well, the basis is that a crime occurred. Well, how do we know? Well, CrowdStrike told us. Well, okay, CrowdStrike is a corporation. You don't usually rely on corporations to dictate what is and what isn't evidence. Well, CrowdStrike is reputable, and they gave information to the U.S. government. Well, what did they give? Well, they gave an analysis. Well, did they give their complete analysis? Well, actually, no, they didn't. They didn't give the unredacted analysis. Why not? Well, they just didn't. And anyway, it's not going to help Stone anyway, because you know what? The U.S. government, and this is how they reply to the Stone lawyers. Well, we've independently verified it. How have you verified or backed up CrowdStrike's assessment, which was absurd anyway, because the U.S. government isn't in the business of verifying the assessment of a corporation anyway, but let's say you did. Well, if you look at the indictment of Russian intelligence officers, silly. Oh, the indictment of Russian intelligence officers? Really? Is that based on the U.S. government's assessment or categorical proof of a crime being committed? Well, yes. Really? What evidence did the U.S. government possess? Well, they possessed a CrowdStrike assessment. Aha! Aha! Well, what do you mean, aha? Yes, you're trying to say the U.S. government independently verified CrowdStrike by saying they indicted Russian intelligence officers based on Company 1. Company 1 is mentioned 17 times in the indictment of Russian intelligence officers. It's the United States versus Nachenko and a whole bunch of intelligence officers, these defendants. In or around 2016, the Russian Federation operated a military intelligence agency called GRU. The GRU, okay, so despite the conspirators' efforts to hide their activities beginning in or around May 2016, both the DCCC and DNC became aware they had been hacked and hired a security company, CrowdStrike, to identify the extent of the intrusions. By in or around June 2016, they don't even have a specific date, Company 1 took steps to exclude intruders from the network. In response to Company 1's efforts, the conspirators took countermeasures to maintain access to DNC networks. How do we know this? Why is Company 1 the basis for an indictment of foreign nationals? This indictment is not based on intelligence from the United States government. Company 1 has disabled ex-agent on the DCC network. Company 1 publicly announced that it had been hacked by Russian, the DNC was hacked. Company's competence. Here, Company 1 announced this, Company 1 announced that, Company 1... And then you have Company 1 all throughout this indictment. So it's based on the assessment of Company 1, the indictments of Russian intelligence officers, which is said to back up the U.S. government's claim that Russia hacked the DNC, is based on Company 1. CrowdStrike's assessment was not given to the United States government in its entirety, yet it was utilized by the United States government to indict Russian nationals. And when Roger Stone's attorneys ask for evidence that Russia hacked the DNC in the form of unredacted CrowdStrike reports, they say, well, the government says, well, look at the indictments of intelligence officers. Then you look at the indictments, the whole thing is, well, CrowdStrike says this. It's like, yeah, you're basically using the same argument, but in a different context, all based on a corporation outside of the United States government. And according to Stone's lawyers, the government does not possess unredacted reports. Now, if that wasn't enough, the government says, well, we have other ways. We have other ways of proving the DNC was hacked. Well, other ways categorically? Really? Because if you look at my Federalist articles, especially the last one and the one before, John Durham needs to investigate why the info generating the Mueller probe is all linked to Hillary Clinton. This is the article that was shared and talked about for 2 days by Rush Limbaugh. The 2 intelligence reports, the ODNI, the Office of Director of National Intelligence, and prior to that one, the DHS, Department of Homeland Security reports, have warranty disclaimers. DHS does not provide any warranties of any kind regarding any information contained within. Just happens to say that the DNC was hacked. Judgments are not, and then the ODNI report, judgments are not intended to imply that we have proof that shows something to be a fact. What? High confidence is the highest level of classifications. High confidence generally indicates that judgments are based on high quality information from multiple sources. High confidence in a judgment does not imply that the assessment is a fact or a certainty. Such judgments might be wrong. Such judgments might be wrong. This is James Clapper's intelligence report that preceded the Mueller report that said the evidence was not sufficient to indict anyone on interfering in the election. They already knew there was no evidence, yet the U.S. government, throughout all of this nonsense and suspicion based on a corporation's assessment that it didn't even give to the government, obtained 500 search warrants. Over 500 if you count Carter Page and Papadopoulos and General Michael Flynn and everyone else before the Mueller probe. President Trump there are going to be people who are going to get indicted. William Barr and John Durham are going to see to that eventually, inevitably. 15 minutes in, Hillary Clinton is running again. Yeah. What did we get from, there was an ABC News analyst or pundit. He said, well, you know, she tried to warn us. The Golden Moo tried to warn us that Trump's base is deplorable. And tell me, I implore you, have they, if you look at the events of the past 3 years, they've proven to be deplorable. I mean, was she wrong? Was the Golden Moo Madam Cyberhack wrong? It's like, what happened? What did 62 million people do? Almost over 62 million. That's Trump's base. I love how they try to marginalize 60 plus million Americans. What did people do to prove they were deplorable? Because the people who were deplorable actually fomented a McCarthy-era Cold War Red Scare tactic, the most absurd, ridiculous, sophomoric, nonsensical, irrational, myth, hoax, bogus nonsense based on corrupt intelligence chiefs that are now blaming President Obama. James Clapper is like, oh, that was not but we were told what to do. Well, we did what President Obama asked us to do. All of this is based on a CrowdStrike assessment that I kept saying and I keep saying, and now we're finding out from the Stone court proceedings. And then the government's like, well, you know, he did a lot of bad things. And because what Roger Stone did was a whole lot of puffery. He's fighting this, and that's admirable, and I respect him for fighting this. But he made a whole lot of, oh, yeah, I know Assange, and I was a back channel. First of all, Assange never needed anyone to do anything. He was a publisher who had something called the internet. You don't need back channels. That's why, the Democrats, they took out their cloak and dagger thesaurus, and Kushner was a back channel. No, back channel? Oh my God. You mean there's no such thing as a cell phone or the internet, or, you can communicate with people a whole lot of ways. Notice how there's no co-conspirators with the Russian intelligence officers who were indicted. Interesting how they didn't conspire with any American. Interesting how Assange, who's a hero, I consider him a hero, he's a publisher. He's like Daniel Ellsberg, who Steven Spielberg made a movie about. Notice how they didn't charge him under any statute, the 18371 statute that they'll eventually charge Comey, Strzok, McCabe, all of them on, that I explained in my Federalist article. No indictment regarding collusion, a statute associated with collusion. So then where's the meat and potatoes? Where's the beef? Remember, where's the beef? Where's the beef? How do we know any of this is true when they keep on doubling down? They say, well, we don't need the unredacted CrowdStrike report because we've indicted Russian intelligence officers based on the unredacted CrowdStrike report. No! Oh, well, we don't need that because we have other people who say that the Russians did hack. Well, yeah, based on what? Well, and it always leads to the main assessment, and here you have, Washington Post. The Russian hacking of Democrats. Stone asks court to toss out evidence saying Russian hacking of Democrats in 2016 is assumption. Can you believe this? And the Washington Post goes on and says, the FBI and U.S. intelligence community had made similar assessments about Russian intelligence agency's specific role. The FBI never looked at DNC servers. A sophisticated effort to steal published data influencing U.S. voting. It wasn't a sophisticated effort. This is not... What sophisticated effort? Isn't it interesting how everything associated with Madam Cyberhack is hacked? You don't need sophisticated. She was using Microsoft Exchange software on her email servers. There was nothing sophisticated about any of this. The Mueller probe in July 2000 publicly indicted members of the Russian intelligence agency GRU. So what? Accusing specific military members and 12 named officers of sustained. Really? You indicted someone using CrowdStrike and then you say that's a proof of something? They have no evidence. The ODNI and DHS reports I explain literally state we have no evidence. And by the way, don't take us seriously. Don't. We have no warranty, no guarantee. There's nothing certain. You better not quote us, because if you quote us, we told you we weren't telling you the truth to begin with, or we were assessing it was the best case scenario. And so the ODNI and DHS reports come out, they have warranty disclaimers. CrowdStrike literally does not give the unredacted reports to the U.S. government. They indict Russian intelligence officers based on Company 1, because they certainly don't use the ODNI and DHS reports as a basis, and then they fall back on, well, it's unanimous consensus. Good. I say Michael Jordan is better than LeBron. You want to know what? Everyone that I know of my age group, black, white, Latino, Asian, every single person I know says Jordan's better than LeBron. If you're in your early 40s, it is a categorical statement. In fact, but it's our opinion. If I were to write a report, I'd have to put a warranty disclaimer. It's not. I say Michael Jordan is better than LeBron. If you're 22 years old, you maybe never saw Jordan play, you say LeBron's better. That is your version, my version of the ODNI and DHS reports. We have no evidence to make an opinion. I mean, we have no evidence to state our opinion is a fact. And it's very simple. Emails were published. We don't know how. We don't know how Assange obtained them. Sorry. That's just, we don't know how. The assumption that was an opinion of Clapper and Brennan and Comey and Strzok and McCabe through the DHS and ODNI reports state categorically this is a high confidence assessment, not a categorical claim of certainty. Like, I cannot say Jordan is better than LeBron, and it is certain, and it is categorical, and this is set in stone, and it happened. It's true, and there is nope. It's my viewpoint, my opinion, and I could write a report like DHS and ODNI. And then someone could refute their opinion. We have no clue. The United States government never looked at DNC servers. That is a fact. Comey tried to get to touch DNC servers. He was rebuffed. That is a fact. It's so obvious the DNC has a lot to hide. It's so obvious that the official narrative is almost certainly more complicated or the opposite of what took place. The United States government does not rely on a corporation's assessment, and certainly doesn't allow the corporation to keep the unredacted information from it. So you had 500 search warrants based on almost certainly a lie and a hoax and nonsense. Where are the 500 search warrants for Clinton's servers, plural, one in her basement outside of the United States government, where before she used the server, after she used the servers, one of Bill Clinton's aides shipped a laptop in the mail that was allegedly lost, with 60,000 of her emails prior to retroactive classification. That's in the Daily Beast. And that's in one of my segments where I say, yeah, eventually William Barr is going to indict Clinton on all of this. Clinton is running again. The Golden Moo is running again. You have a whole lot of people. Look, there are a great many people who always vote Democrat, and if Washington Post, the New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, Hollywood, if they all say one thing, they'll believe anything. They, in turn, say, well, if Trump says something, his base, They marginalized 60 million people into a bunch of, loonies and crazies and really horrible, ogre, xenophobic people. Meanwhile, they blame Russia for their problems. In 2015, in The Hill, the Huffington Post, and Salon, I said Clinton would lose. And all those wonderful writers and journalists at the Boston Globe and Esquire, and I know there's a bunch of people, if they hear my name, they'll be like, oh, H.A. Goodman. It's H.A. Goodman, yeah, right. I was telling you, before you believed that Russia interfered in the election to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated, you imbeciles, that she was going to lose. When I was on the left, I was like, you might wanna maybe not pick Hillary because well, at that point Bernie Sanders was a lot. You're not playing ball. You're not playing with a team. Clinton, the Golden Moo-Moo's gonna win. You don't know what you're talking about. You're a heretic, blasphemer. I was like, well, if you look at the swing states. And then all this hit pieces, Daily Beast wrote an unethical hit piece, Raw Story wrote a hit piece on me when I was on the left, and now I'm a Trump supporter. It's just, one publication that's no longer in existence devoted like 5 or 6 articles to me. Like, just they were obsessed with me. You had people, Reddit, let's put it this way. This is how bad it was. There was a Bernie Reddit that because I was too vocal in my support for Bernie, that I was actually saying he was going to win. They're like, we shouldn't share his articles anymore. One person said that, or 1 or 2 people, because he's unrealistic. Like, even people on the left were like, never going to happen anyway. We know we know our fate. And the same thing's going to take place here. Today. Not today, but before 2020. You think they're going with Biden? Think. She's not running, dude. She's not running. That's how many times did I hear that? With Trump's not going to win. Let's say, yeah, Clinton's winning, okay? You're delusional if you don't think that. You heard that all the time. She's not running. She's going to run again. And they're all going to fall in line. You're already hearing the kind of, well, she was right about the deplorables. Oh, well, she warned us. They made up their minds about Trump before the election. And they've been rehashing and rehearsing the same. Trump is a racist, and he worked with Russia. And yet they haven't deviated. And it didn't work then. They're still doing it because what do they have? They cheated Bernie Sanders, who turned out to be a tool of the Democratic Party. Oh, the Russians interfered to inform the country that I was cheated. Oh, no. What did they have? They had a little spark, a little moment where, a whole lot of people fell under this kind of paradigm of thought that, yeah, you know what? Democratic Party, maybe Bernie Sanders could make a change, and this is a populist year, and you either had at that point Bernie Sanders or Trump, and they cheated for Clinton, so it didn't work. Now they're going to go with a revamped new Clinton spin, where she's going to be like, "You want me? Oh, really?" And then the voices in unison, the New York Times, all of them, Hollywood. We're not going to let Russia cheat us. And everyone's going to be like, what? Are they serious? And they'll fall in line. Are you kidding? And all the YouTubers on the left, I'm not going to bring up their names. You know who they are. All the people who are like, I don't even like Clinton. They're going to be like, vote for Clinton in swing states and just vote for Clinton in 2020. And you know what? If you want 4 years of this great economy and peace between North and South Korea and all the other horrible things that Trump has done, you know what? Then you'll vote. You're just a Trump supporter. That's what they're going to say. If you don't vote for Clinton, if you don't vote for the Golden Moo-Moo, oh my God, if you don't vote for the Golden Moo-Moo, the Madam Cyberhack, if you don't vote for her, you might as well be Jared Kushner. Or even worse, H.A. Goodman. No, he would be worse than me, and nobody knows who I am. But you're the next. Even on Twitter now, any journalist who was like, well, maybe this is, you're the next H.A. Goodman. And then they're like, they have completely made every disagreement on any issue that's controversial, legitimate disagreement. This is the xenophobic nature of the Trump supporters. Oh my God. It's true what the Russians did was in concert with them. They're creating their own reality. So, and you see this, like, they got Stone. He did it to himself a little bit because of the puffery and the grandiose, like, oh, I did this. And don't say things you didn't do. Make it seem like you're like, the big shot, and then it doesn't work out. But then what happened was, the Mueller probe team, everything, they're like, well, hey, let's get this guy. But the whole premise is false. We have no clue if the DNC was hacked. We cannot. The United States government, this is the bottom line. That's what Stone's attorney should have asked. Or can you state with certainty? Does the United States government state with certainty that the DNC was hacked? Can they back up the claim with certainty? No, they can't. Well, how do I know? Because the DHS and ODNI reports state that the U.S. government can't. So therefore, how did they obtain 500 warrants? Why? Because it's called Clinton 2020. That's called the Golden Muumuu. Shall rise again. The Golden Muumuu will levitate above the DNC. That's why. And then I just love this farce. I'm tired of the charade. Every single... Biden is just what... You think he has a... There's so many problems with Biden. Yeah, hurry it up. You think Bernie has a chance, yeah? They cheated him, and then they blamed Russia. You think he has a chance? Yeah, right. Give me a break. What kind of buffoon would believe the Democrats again? This is the worst. They're like, Medicare for all, man. And it's like, well, it would be noble if it was possible. It's not feasible. The Mercatus study says double or triple tax collection, but let's say I'm wrong. Democrats haven't pushed any Medicare for all bill. What are they going to do, study that one also? Everything that they, lie to their constituents about, we got to study it. We have to have a research group, congressional reporting on it. Well, what's there to study? I thought that all these fantastic YouTubers said it was more than feasible and it should happen. So, that's what we voted for all these wonderful Democrats in Congress for. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. 500 search warrants. 500 search warrants. Give me your thoughts below. Based on a myth. Give me your thoughts. Thank you. Oh, if you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below in the pinned comment. Definitely share the article my article in the Federalist that was shared by Rush Limbaugh, and for 2 days. That's below in the pinned comment. I might have an article up in the Jerusalem Post very soon. Very important one. Thank you.